Marcus Webb's alarm went off at 5:47 a.m., exactly 13 minutes before he actually needed to be awake. Those 13 minutes were sacred, not for sleeping, never for sleeping, but for lying in the dark, eyes open, listening to the quiet house before the chaos began, before his 8-year-old daughter, Zara, woke up asking 1,000 questions, before he had to face another day of keeping their small world from falling apart. He reached over and silenced his phone. The screen showed the date. Tuesday, November 14th. Court date. Finally. After 8 months of legal letters and threats and sleepless nights, today Judge Alina Reeves would decide if his ex-wife Simone could take Zara to California. Simone, the woman who'd walked out when Zara was 3, saying motherhood wasn't what she'd signed up for, who'd sent birthday cards twice in 5 years, who now suddenly wanted full custody because she'd remarried a tech executive and could provide stability and opportunities Marcus clearly cannot offer. His jaw clenched. He had to be at the courthouse by 9:00 a.m. sharp. His court-appointed attorney, Mrs. Chen, had been crystal clear. Do not be late. Judges notice. It becomes evidence. Marcus threw off the covers and padded down the narrow hallway of their small 2-bedroom apartment. The walls needed painting. The carpet was worn thin in spots, but it was clean. It was theirs. And every corner held memories of Zara growing up. Her height marks on the doorframe, her artwork taped to the refrigerator, her laughter echoing off these walls. In the kitchen, he started the coffee maker. The ancient machine sputtered and groaned. He'd fixed it 3 times already with duct tape and prayer. While it wheezed to life, Marcus pulled out ingredients for breakfast. Oatmeal, brown sugar, sliced bananas. Nothing fancy, but Zara loved it. He glanced at the bills stacked on the counter. Electric, water, rent notice. The landlord had been patient, but patience had limits. Marcus worked 2 jobs, days at Henderson's auto shop as a mechanic, nights doing maintenance at the community center. Still, it was never quite enough. But he was making it work. Barely. Precariously. But work nonetheless. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Marcus heard Zara's door creak open. Small feet padded toward the kitchen. She appeared in the doorway, her natural hair wild around her face, her brown skin still warm from sleep. She wore her favorite purple pajamas, the ones with stars that were getting too small. "Morning, baby girl." "Morning, Daddy." She climbed onto the kitchen stool, rubbing her eyes. Is today the day? His heart squeezed. She knew. Of course she knew. Kids always knew more than adults gave them credit for. "Yeah, baby, it's today." "Are you scared?" Marcus set down the spoon he'd been stirring with and knelt in front of her, taking her small, brown hands in his larger, calloused ones. "A little scared, but mostly brave. You know why?" "Why?" "Because I know the truth, and the truth is that you and me, we're a team. Nothing's going to change that. Not a courtroom, not a judge, not anything." Zara's eyes, so much like his own, searched his face. "Promise?" "Promise." She nodded, satisfied. "Can I have extra bananas in my oatmeal?" He laughed, the tension breaking. "You can have all the bananas you want." They ate breakfast together. Zara chattered about school, about her friend Maya who could do a cartwheel, about the book they were reading in class about a girl who traveled through time. Marcus listened, really listened, storing every detail. These moments. This was what he was fighting for. After breakfast came the hair ritual. Marcus had learned through YouTube videos and practice and more failed attempts than he could count. He sectioned Zara's thick, beautiful hair carefully, detangling with patience, moisturizing, braiding. 2 neat cornrows that took him 20 minutes. "Too tight?" he asked. "Perfect." "You sure? Last time you said they were too tight and you had a headache at school." "Daddy, they're perfect. Stop worrying." But worry was all he knew how to do anymore. By 7:45 a.m., Zara was dressed, backpack ready, lunch packed. Marcus had called Mrs. Lopez next door to take Zara to school. He'd miss drop-off today, miss seeing her run to the playground. But Mrs. Chen had been clear. Be early, show respect for the court's time. You be good for Mrs. Lopez, okay? I'm always good. Zara hugged him tight around the waist. Go win, Daddy. I'll try my best. Your best is really good. He kissed the top of her head, breathed in the smell of coconut oil and kid shampoo, and watched her skip next door. Mrs. Lopez waved from her doorway. Good people still existed in the world. He had to remember that. Marcus grabbed his keys, his phone, the folder of documents Mrs. Chen had told him to bring. Character references, pay stubs, Zara's report cards. Proof that he was a good father, that he was enough. The courthouse was 30 minutes away in light traffic. He had plenty of time. He didn't know that in 45 minutes, everything would change. Marcus drove carefully, hands at 10 and 2, 5 miles under the speed limit. He couldn't afford a ticket, couldn't afford anything going wrong today. The radio played softly. Morning news, traffic reports. He barely heard it. His phone buzzed. Mrs. Chen. See you at 8:45 outside courtroom 3B. Bring all documents. Stay calm. We have a good case. He texted back one-handed at a stoplight. On my way. The neighborhood changed as he drove. Shabby apartments gave way to nicer homes, then to the commercial district downtown. The courthouse loomed ahead, all concrete and glass and authority. Marcus pulled into a parking garage 2 blocks away. Cheaper than the courthouse lot. He parked, gathered his folder, checked the time. 8:32 a.m. Perfect. He'd be early. Composed, ready. He walked toward the courthouse, his only suit jacket pulled tight against the November cold. The suit was borrowed from his cousin, a bit loose in the shoulders, a bit short in the sleeves. But it was clean and pressed, and it said, I tried. I cared. I showed up. That's when he heard it. A sharp, panicked scream from across the street. Someone help! Please! My baby! Marcus froze mid-step. Every instinct told him to keep walking. He had 27 minutes. The courthouse was 3 blocks away. This wasn't his problem, but his feet had already changed direction. Across the street, outside Rosie's diner, a woman held a small child. A boy, maybe 4 years old, his dark face turning purple, his eyes wide with terror. The universal choking sign. Hands at his throat. Silent. No air moving. The mother was screaming. Bystanders stood frozen, pulling out phones but doing nothing. Someone yelled about calling 911, but the child didn't have time for 911. Marcus ran. I know first aid, he shouted, crossing the street. Let me help. The mother, a young black woman with tears streaming down her face, turned to him with desperate hope. He was eating. The sausage. He can't breathe. Marcus assessed in seconds. Child conscious but can't cough, can't cry, can't breathe. Complete airway obstruction. Maybe 60 seconds before he passes out. 90 seconds before brain damage. I've got him, Marcus said, his voice calm and steady. Trust me. He took the boy from her arms, positioned him carefully. Infant. No, too big. Child Heimlich. He'd learned this in the free CPR class at the community center. Never thought he'd need it. Marcus placed his fist above the child's navel, grasped it with his other hand, gave quick upward thrusts. 1, 2, 3, nothing. The boy's eyes were rolling back. The crowd around them was growing. Someone was filming. Marcus didn't care. 4, 5. A piece of sausage shot out of the boy's mouth and landed on the sidewalk. The child gasped, deep, shuddering, beautiful breaths. Then he started crying. The most wonderful sound Marcus had ever heard. The mother grabbed her son, sobbing. Thank you. Oh my God, thank you. You saved him. You saved my baby. Marcus stepped back, his hand shaking now that it was over. He's okay. He's breathing. But take him to the ER just to be safe. Make sure there's no damage. I will. What's your name? Please, I need to know your name. Marcus Webb. Marcus Webb is a hero, someone in the crowd shouted. People surrounded him, patting his back, taking pictures, asking questions. The boy's mother was crying and thanking him and trying to hug him with her son still in her arms. Marcus's phone buzzed. Mrs. Chen. Where are you? It's 8:58. His blood turned to ice. I have to go, he said, backing away from the crowd. I'm sorry, I have to go. Wait, the mother called. I need your information. I want to thank you properly. But Marcus was already running. 3 blocks had never felt so long. His dress shoes slapped against the pavement. His folder slipped, and he caught it. His phone kept buzzing. 8:59 a.m. 9 a.m. 9:01 a.m. He burst through the courthouse doors, through security where he had to empty his pockets and walk through the metal detector while precious seconds ticked away. He ran down the hallway, his footsteps echoing. Courtroom 3B. He shoved open the door. Mrs. Chen stood inside, her face pale. The courtroom was already in session. A bailiff was reading the case number, and behind the bench in black robes sat the judge. Your Honor, Mrs. Chen was saying, her voice strained. I apologize. My client was delayed, but... Delayed? The judge's voice was cold, authoritative. Mrs. Chen, your client's punctuality was specifically discussed in our previous hearing. Yes, Your Honor, but there were extenuating... Mr. Webb has missed his court date. Marcus stumbled forward. I'm here. I'm so sorry. I'm here. The judge looked up, and Marcus's world tilted sideways, the face behind the bench, those eyes, that way of holding herself with absolute authority. He knew that face. 6 weeks ago, late night at Henderson's auto shop. He'd been closing up when a red sedan pulled in, driver's side window down. The woman inside had been dressed professionally, but her expression was tight with pain. Are you still open? She'd asked. Technically no, but what's wrong? My car's making a terrible sound. I know nothing about cars. I have an early hearing tomorrow and I can't miss it. Marcus had stayed late. Diagnosed the problem. Loose belt tensioner. Simple fix. He'd repaired it, refused to charge her full price because she'd seemed so stressed. You're a lifesaver, she'd said, her brown skin catching the fluorescent lights of the shop. What do I owe you? $40 for parts. Labor's on me. Sounds like you have a big day tomorrow. You have no idea. She'd paid, thanked him 3 times, and driven away. And now she was sitting behind the bench in a judge's robe, holding his future in her hands. Recognition flickered in her eyes too, just for a millisecond. But then her expression went perfectly, professionally blank. Mr. Webb, Judge Alina Reeves said, her voice giving nothing away. You're late. Marcus stood frozen in the courtroom, his heart hammering against his ribs. Judge Reeves's dark eyes held his for just a fraction too long. Long enough for him to know. She remembered him. She absolutely remembered him. But her face remained impassive. Professional, completely neutral. Your Honor, Mrs. Chen jumped in, her voice carefully measured. Mr. Webb was delayed due to a medical emergency. I can provide witnesses who... A medical emergency involving Mr. Webb himself? Judge Reeves asked, her gaze still on Marcus. No, Your Honor. He stopped to help a choking child. Something flickered across the judge's face. Surprise, interest. But it vanished so quickly Marcus couldn't be sure. I see. Mr. Webb, is this true? Marcus found his voice. Yes, Your Honor, a little boy, outside Rosie's Diner on 4th Street. He was choking on his food. His mother was screaming for help. I couldn't... He stopped, unsure how to finish. Couldn't what, Mr. Webb? Couldn't just walk away. Even though I knew I'd be late. I couldn't let a child die. The courtroom was silent. Marcus could hear his own breathing. Behind him, he sensed Simone and her expensive lawyer, probably thrilled, probably already composing their argument about his irresponsibility. Judge Reeves leaned back in her chair, studying him. "Mrs. Chen, I assume you'll want to verify this account." "Yes, Your Honor. The incident occurred at approximately 8:45 this morning. Multiple witnesses. I can have statements within the hour." "Make it 30 minutes." Judge Reeves's gavel pressed lightly against the bench. "We'll recess until 9:45. Mr. Webb, I suggest you use this time to collect yourself." "Thank you, Your Honor." "Don't thank me yet. Being late to a custody hearing regardless of reason reflects poorly on your reliability as a parent. We'll discuss this further when we reconvene." The gavel came down with a sharp crack. Marcus's legs felt weak as he followed Mrs. Chen out of the courtroom. In the hallway, she turned on him, her expression caught between relief and frustration. Marcus, look at me." He met her eyes. "You saved a child's life." "I didn't think. I just reacted." "Of course you did." Mrs. Chen's voice softened. "Because you're a good man, which is exactly what we're trying to prove in there." She glanced back at the courtroom doors. "But Judge Reeves is known for being strict about punctuality. We need those witness statements, fast." "The mother said her name. I didn't catch it. Everything happened so fast. 4th Street, Rosie's Diner. I'll make calls." Mrs. Chen disappeared down the hallway, phone already pressed to her ear. Marcus slumped against the wall, his folder slipping from his hands. Papers scattered across the floor. Pay stubs. Character references. Zara's last report card with a note from her teacher. "Zara is a joy to have in class. It's clear she comes from a loving home." "Need help?" Marcus looked up. A woman stood a few feet away. Not in the judge's robes now, but in a simple blouse and slacks. She must have changed quickly. Alina Reeves held a coffee cup in one hand, her expression unreadable. "I shouldn't be talking to you," Marcus said, gathering his papers. "You're probably right." But she didn't leave. Instead, she knelt down and helped him collect the scattered documents. Her fingers brushed against his as she handed him Zara's report card. "Your daughter?" "Yes." "She's beautiful." Marcus looked at the photo paper-clipped to the report card. Zara's gap-toothed smile, her 2 puff braids. "She's everything." Alina stood, and Marcus rose with her. They stood in the empty hallway, 2 people who'd met briefly 6 weeks ago under completely different circumstances, now on opposite sides of a life-changing decision. "You fixed my car," she said quietly. "Refused to overcharge me. Stayed late when you didn't have to. You remember." "Of course I remember. You were kind when you didn't have to be." She paused. "And today you saved a child's life when you should have been walking into my courtroom." "I'm not trying to make excuses." "I know you're not." Her voice was soft but firm. "Which is exactly the problem, Mr. Webb. I don't understand." Judge Reeves glanced down the hallway, making sure they were still alone. "You're making this very difficult." "Making what difficult?" "Being impartial." She met his eyes directly. "I'm supposed to evaluate whether you're a fit parent, whether you're responsible and stable and capable of providing for your daughter. And here you are, proving exactly that by sacrificing something crucial to save a stranger's child." Marcus's throat tightened. "So you believe me?" "It doesn't matter what I believe. It matters what I can prove, what the evidence shows." She stepped back, creating professional distance again. "Mrs. Chen is getting those witness statements." "Good, you'll need them." "Will they be enough?" Judge Reeves' expression revealed nothing. "I'll see you back in my courtroom at 9:45, Mr. Webb. Don't be late twice." She walked away, her footsteps echoing down the marble hallway. Marcus stood alone, his papers clutched to his chest, wondering if he'd just made the best decision of his life or the worst. By 9:40 a.m., Mrs. Chen had 3 signed statements. The boy's mother, whose name was Keisha Thomas. 2 witnesses from the diner, and a video from someone's phone showing the entire rescue. "This is good," Mrs. Chen said, reviewing the documents. "This is very good." "Will it matter?" "It shows character. It shows you put a child's safety above your own interests. That's exactly what good parents do." They re-entered the courtroom. Simone sat with her lawyer, her expression carefully neutral. She'd changed since Marcus last saw her. Designer clothes, expensive haircut. Everything about her screamed success, stability, the kind of life the courts favored. Judge Reeves entered. Everyone stood. "Be seated, Mrs. Chen. You have your witness statements?" "Yes, Your Honor. And video evidence." The next 30 minutes were surreal. The video played on a screen. Marcus watched himself run across the street, take the child, perform the Heimlich maneuver with steady hands. Watched the piece of sausage fly out. Watched the child breathe. He heard Keisha Thomas's statement read aloud. "Marcus Webb saved my son's life without hesitation. He was calm, competent, and refused any reward. He's a hero." When it was done, Judge Reeves sat in silence for a long moment. "Mr. Crane," she addressed Simone's lawyer, "does your client have anything to say regarding this evidence?" The lawyer stood. "Your Honor, while we acknowledge Mr. Webb's heroic actions this morning, the fact remains that he was late to a court-mandated hearing. This demonstrates a pattern of unreliability that—" "A pattern?" Judge Reeves's voice cut through the courtroom like a blade. "How many times has Mr. Webb been late to these proceedings?" "This is the first time, but so not a pattern. An isolated incident with documented cause." She looked at Marcus. "Mr. Webb, if you had walked past that child, would you have been on time this morning?" Marcus stood. "Yes, Your Honor." "And would you have been able to live with yourself?" "No, Your Honor, I wouldn't." Judge Reeves nodded slowly. "That's what I thought." She shuffled papers on her bench. "I'm calling a recess until tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I need time to review all evidence thoroughly. Both parties will return prepared to make final arguments." The gavel came down. As everyone filed out, Marcus felt lighter somehow. Not hopeful exactly, but less crushed. Mrs. Chen patted his arm. "Tomorrow we make our case." Marcus drove home in a daze. He picked up Zara from Mrs. Lopez's apartment, held her tight, listened to her talk about her day at school. "Did you win?" she asked over mac and cheese at dinner. "Not yet, baby girl. The judge needs more time to think." "Is she nice?" Marcus thought about Alina Reeves, the way she'd helped him pick up his papers, the way she'd looked at Zara's photo, the way she'd questioned Simone's lawyer about patterns of unreliability. "Yeah," he said softly, "I think she might be." That night, after Zara was asleep, Marcus's phone buzzed with an unknown number. A text message. "The boy's mother wants to meet you. Says she needs to properly thank the man who saved her son. She'll be at the courthouse tomorrow. Thought you should know." A.R. Marcus stared at the message. A.R. Alina Reeves. The judge had texted him. He shouldn't respond, it was probably completely inappropriate, but his thumbs moved anyway. "Thank you for telling me." 3 dots appeared. Then, "See you tomorrow at 9 too. Don't save any children on the way." Despite everything, despite the fear and exhaustion and uncertainty, Marcus smiled. End of Part 1. Word count. 4,350 words. That's the end of Part 1. I've established Marcus as a devoted single father struggling financially but maintaining dignity, his competence and moral character, fixing the judge's car, saving the child. Judge Alina Reeves and their prior connection. The custody battle stakes. The unexpected encounter and forced proximity chemistry beginning to develop his daughter Zara as a realistic, loving presence. Should I continue with Part 2? Sections 4 to 6 see Protection and Development. This will be 5,000 to 7,500 words covering the return forced proximity, vulnerability exchange, and the complication that tests their growing bond. Wednesday morning, 8:50 a.m. Marcus arrived early, his borrowed suit pressed again, Zara's good luck drawing folded in his pocket. Mrs. Chen met him outside courtroom 3B with an unexpected development. Keisha Thomas is here, the boy's mother. She's asking to testify as a character witness. She doesn't even know me. She knows you saved her son. That speaks volumes. Inside the courtroom, Marcus saw her. Keisha sat in the gallery, her 4-year-old son beside her, healthy and squirming. When their eyes met, she smiled with tears already forming. But it was the other person who made Marcus's breath catch. Judge Alina Reeves entered, her black robes flowing, her expression unreadable. Professional, distant, nothing like the woman who'd texted him last night. The hearing began. Simone's lawyer painted Marcus as unstable, behind on rent, working 2 jobs that left him exhausted, living in a cramped apartment in a rough neighborhood. Your Honor, Mr. Webb's circumstances, while sympathetic, are not suitable for raising a child. Mrs. Davis can provide stability, excellent schools, opportunities. Mrs. Chen, Judge Reeves interrupted, your response. Mrs. Chen stood. Your Honor, I'd like to call Keisha Thomas to the stand. Keisha testified with raw emotion. She described watching her son turn purple, described the panic, the helplessness, then Marcus running across the street without hesitation. He didn't ask who I was, didn't ask for payment. He just saved my baby. And afterward, when people wanted to celebrate him, he ran, because he had somewhere more important to be. Here, fighting for his daughter. Keisha's voice broke. That's the kind of father every child deserves. Judge Reeves listened intently. Ms. Thomas, did Mr. Webb mention his court hearing when he was helping your son? No, ma'am. I only found out later when someone showed me the news coverage. People are calling him a hero. And what do you call him? A good man, the best kind. When Keisha stepped down, Judge Reeves reviewed documents in silence. Then she looked directly at Marcus. Mr. Webb approached the bench. Marcus's legs felt unsteady. He walked forward, Mrs. Chen beside him. Mr. Webb, Judge Reeves said quietly, I've reviewed your financial records, your employment history, your living situation. I've read character references from your employer, your neighbors, your daughter's teacher, and yesterday I watched you save a child's life. She paused. Mrs. Chen, I'm ready to make my ruling. Marcus's heart stopped. In the matter of custody of Zara Simone Webb, this court finds that the child's best interests are served by remaining with her father, Marcus Webb. Primary custody is granted to Mr. Webb. Mrs. Davis will have visitation rights as previously established. The gavel came down. Marcus couldn't breathe, couldn't process. Mrs. Chen was hugging him. Keisha was crying in the gallery. And behind the bench, Judge Alina Reeves was gathering her files, her face still professionally neutral. But just before she left, her eyes met his, and she smiled. Small, brief, but real. 3 days later, Marcus was under a Honda Civic at Henderson's auto shop when his boss called him to the front. Someone here to see you. He rolled out from under the car, covered in grease, and froze. Alina Reeves stood in the waiting area, not in judge's robes, jeans, a simple sweater. Her natural hair pulled back. She looked younger, softer. Judge Reeves? Alina, please, I'm not your judge anymore. His heart did something complicated. What are you doing here? My car's making that sound again. The belt tensioner. I think it needs to be replaced this time, not just tightened. Marcus wiped his hands on a rag. You came here for your car? And to see if you'd have coffee with me afterward. If that's allowed now that the case is closed." "It's allowed," Marcus said, his voice rougher than intended. "It's definitely allowed." They met that Saturday at the cafe near the courthouse. Marcus brought Zara because Mrs. Lopez was visiting her sister. He'd warned Alina, half expecting her to cancel. Instead, she'd said, "Good, I'd love to meet her." Zara bounced into the cafe wearing her yellow dress, the one she saved for special occasions. She spotted Alina, and her eyes went wide. "You're the judge, the one with the magic hammer who let me stay with Daddy?" Alina laughed, genuine and warm. "The magic hammer is called a gavel, sweetheart, and you stayed with your daddy because he's an excellent father." "I know. He's the best." Zara climbed into the chair across from Alina. "Also, he saved a little boy's life. Did you know that?" "I did know that. I saw the video. Your daddy is very brave. And he can fix cars and make really good pancakes and braid my hair even though it took him like 1,000,000 years to learn." Marcus felt his face heat. "Zara, let the lady breathe." But Alina was smiling, her whole face transformed. "I like hearing about your daddy. Tell me more." If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Over hot chocolate and coffee, Zara entertained them with elaborate stories. But eventually she spotted the cafe's small bookshelf and wandered over to investigate, leaving Marcus and Alina alone. "She's wonderful," Alina said softly. "She's everything to me. When her mother left—" He stopped, surprised he'd brought it up. "You don't have to explain. I want to." And he did. He told her about Simone leaving, about the years of raising Zara alone, about the fear that he wasn't enough, about lying awake at night terrified of failing her. Alina listened without interruption. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "I was engaged once," she said finally. 8 years ago. We had a wedding date, a venue, everything planned. Then I was appointed to the bench at 32, youngest judge in the county. He said I'd become cold, that the job had changed me, that I cared more about justice than about him. Did you? Maybe, or maybe he couldn't handle that. Loved something as much as I loved him. She looked at her coffee cup. He left 3 weeks before the wedding. I threw myself into work, built a reputation as the toughest judge in the county. Never late, never swayed by emotion, never compromised. She met Marcus's eyes. Then you walked into my courtroom. And I was late. And you were late for the best possible reason, because you chose to save a life over saving yourself. And I realized something. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. I'd built my whole career on never bending the rules, but watching you, reading about you, seeing how you loved your daughter, I understood that sometimes the rules don't account for goodness. For real, uncomplicated human goodness. Marcus reached across the table. His hand, still bearing traces of grease under the nails, covered hers. You bent the rules for me? I followed the law, but I wanted to find a way to rule in your favor. I wanted it so badly it scared me. Why? Because 6 weeks before your hearing, you stayed late to fix my car. You charged me almost nothing. You treated me with kindness when I was stressed and rude, and I thought, this is a good man. And then you proved it by saving a child. They sat holding hands across the table while Zara read picture books in the corner. And something shifted. Something that felt like the beginning of everything. Over the next month, coffee dates became regular, sometimes with Zara, sometimes without. Marcus learned that Alina loved terrible reality TV and collected cookbooks she never used. She learned that he could diagnose car problems by sound alone and sang off-key to Motown while working. One evening, Marcus invited her to dinner at their small apartment. Nothing fancy, spaghetti and salad. But Zara helped set the table like it was a state dinner. Alina arrived with flowers and a children's book for Zara. She fit into their tiny space naturally, helped with dishes, sat on the worn couch while Zara showed her every stuffed animal and explained their elaborate backstories. At bedtime, Zara hugged Alina. "Can you come to my school play next week? Daddy's coming, but you should come too." Alina looked at Marcus, questioning. He nodded. She'd love to. After Zara was asleep, Marcus and Alina sat on the couch, close but not touching, the space between them charged with unspoken things. "She's getting attached," Marcus said quietly. "Is that bad? What if—" He stopped, started again. "What if this doesn't work? I can't let her lose someone else." Alina took his face in her hands. "Marcus Webb, I'm not going anywhere. Do you understand? I didn't bend the universe to keep you and Zara together just to walk away now." He kissed her then, soft and careful and full of promise. Neither of them heard the phone buzz on the kitchen counter, didn't see the voicemail from Mrs. Chen, didn't know that Simone had filed an emergency appeal, claiming new evidence of Marcus's unfitness. They'd find out tomorrow. And tomorrow, everything would explode. The emergency hearing was scheduled for Wednesday. Marcus sat in Mrs. Chen's office, his world tilting sideways again. "Simone claims you're in an inappropriate relationship with the judge who ruled in your favor. She's arguing bias, demanding a new trial. How does she even know about Alina? Someone saw you together, took photos. This—" Mrs. Chen showed him her phone. Social media posts. Marcus and Alina at the cafe, holding hands. The caption: "Local judge dating man she granted custody, corruption or romance." This is bad, Marcus. Really bad. If they prove prior relationship before the hearing— "We didn't have a relationship. I fixed her car once. That's it. Can you prove that?" Marcus's mind raced. The shop records, 6 weeks before the hearing. One interaction. $40 charged. Get me those records now. Alina was already at the courthouse when Marcus arrived. She stood in the hallway outside the courtroom, her face pale. "They're calling for my disbarment," she said quietly, "claiming I deliberately presided over a case where I had personal involvement. This is my fault. No." Her voice was steel. "This is Simone trying to manipulate the system. We did nothing wrong. We developed feelings. After the case closed, after the ruling, there's nothing illegal about that." A new judge, Judge Morrison, presided over the appeal hearing. He was older, stern, clearly unhappy about being there. Simone's lawyer presented his case. The photos, the timeline, arguments about impropriety and bias. Then Mrs. Chen stood. "Your Honor, I have Henderson's auto shop records showing one interaction between Mr. Webb and Judge Reeves 6 weeks before the hearing. A car repair, $40, nothing inappropriate, and I have phone records showing zero communication between them until after the custody ruling." "What about the text message the night before the final hearing?" Simone's lawyer countered. Marcus's blood ran cold. He'd forgotten about that. Judge Morrison looked at Alina. "Judge Reeves, did you text the defendant?" Alina stood. "Yes, Your Honor, to inform him that the mother of the child he'd saved wanted to meet him. Professional courtesy regarding a potential character witness. The message was appropriate and case-related." "Let me see the message." Alina pulled out her phone, handed it to the bailiff. Judge Morrison read it. His expression revealed nothing. "The boy's mother wants to meet you. She'll be at the courthouse tomorrow. Thought you should know." He looked up. "And Mr. Webb's response?" "Thank you for telling me," Alina said quietly. Nothing more. Judge Morrison studied both of them. "Judge Reeves, I've known you for 15 years. You're the most ethical judge in this county, sometimes annoyingly so." A hint of a smile. "Did you have any personal relationship with Mr. Webb during his custody proceedings?" "No, Your Honor, only professional interaction." "And after the case closed?" "Yes, Your Honor. After the case closed, I asked him to coffee. because I'd watched him prove himself to be an exceptional father and a good man, and I wanted to know him better. Mrs. Davis, Judge Morrison addressed Simone, your ex-husband was granted custody because the evidence overwhelmingly supported it. Character witnesses, his daughter's testimony, his demonstrated sacrifice and dedication. Judge Reeves's ruling was sound. Your appeal is based on speculation and circumstantial social media posts. Simone's lawyer tried to interrupt, but Judge Morrison held up his hand. Appeal denied. Original custody ruling stands, and Mrs. Davis, if you file any further frivolous appeals, I'll hold you in contempt. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down. Outside the courthouse, Keisha Thomas was waiting with a group of people. Parents from Zara's school, neighbors from Marcus's building, even Henderson, his boss from the auto shop. We came to testify if needed, Keisha said, to tell them who Marcus really is. Marcus felt his throat tighten. You all came. You saved my son, Keisha said simply. This is the least we could do. Mrs. Lopez pushed through the crowd and hugged him. You're a good boy. Always have been. Anyone with eyes can see it. Alina watched from the courthouse steps, the community surrounding Marcus, protecting him, validating him. This was what love looked like. Not romantic love, but the kind that held people up when they stumbled. Marcus looked back at her, extended his hand. She walked down the steps and took it. Everyone, Marcus said, his voice rough with emotion. This is Alina. He paused, looked at her. She's important to me. She's the judge who was smart enough to see what we already knew, Mrs. Lopez declared, that you're the best father that little girl could have. The crowd murmured agreement. Alina felt acceptance wash over her. These people, Marcus's people, were welcoming her into their circle. 6 months later, Marcus stood in a different courtroom. But this time, Alina sat beside him, not behind the bench. She'd taken a leave of absence to avoid any perception of impropriety. Now she worked for a nonprofit, providing legal aid to families in need. She's making half the money and twice as happy, she'd told Marcus. Turns out helping people directly is better than judging them from a bench. Today, they were finalizing Zara's adoption of Alina's last name, not replacing Marcus's, adding to it. Zara Webb Reeves. It's a big name, Zara had said seriously, but I'm a big person now. I can handle it. Judge Morrison presided. He smiled as he signed the paperwork. This is my favorite kind of case. Families choosing each other. Afterward, they went to Rosie's diner, where it all began. Keisha and her son met them there. The boy, now 5, gave Marcus a drawing of a superhero with a cape. That's you, he announced, because you saved me. And you saved me right back, Marcus said, pulling the boy into a hug. Because it was true. That moment, that choice to stop and help, had set everything in motion, had brought Alina into his life, had proven his character when he needed it most, had reminded him that goodness mattered. Over pancakes, Zara chattered about her school play, her new friends, her excitement about having Alina officially as her mom. Not my birth mom, my choose you mom, which is even better because you picked me and I picked you. Alina's eyes shimmered with tears. Best choice I ever made. That evening, in the small apartment that didn't feel quite so small anymore, Marcus tucked Zara into bed. She hugged both of them. Daddy, are we going to be okay now? Like, forever okay? Marcus looked at Alina, standing in the doorway backlit by the hallway light. Yeah, baby girl, we're forever okay. After Zara fell asleep, Marcus and Alina sat on the couch. He'd gotten a raise at Henderson's, enough to afford this place comfortably. Alina was making plans to start her own legal practice. They were talking about maybe finding a bigger place next year, maybe a house with a yard. I broke about 50 ethical guidelines for you, Alina said, her head on his shoulder. Worth it?" She kissed him softly. Every single one. Outside, the city hummed with life. Somewhere, a child laughed. Somewhere, a stranger needed help. Somewhere, someone was making the choice to stop, to care, to intervene. Marcus had made that choice in a moment of crisis, never knowing it would change his entire life. Sometimes we think the biggest moments announce themselves. But they don't. They disguise themselves as ordinary choices. A man running across the street. A judge demanding better evidence. A little girl drawing pictures of superhero hammers. And those small moments of courage, of kindness, of choosing right over easy, they build into something magnificent. They build into love. They build into family. They build into forever. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.